Hey everyone, Fallout here, and before we get going, I want to quickly say thank you to Gamer Damos, a friend of mine in the community who was kind enough to share his D2 gameplay footage with me for this video. His information can be found in the description of this video, so please go throw him a follow and check him out. Okay, so I'm back from the Destiny 2 gameplay reveal event, and wow, goddamn, it was incredible. While I was there, I asked you to send me on Twitter any questions you had about the Destiny 2 gameplay, and I'm going to go over all of your questions right here. This one question I got a few times, and that would be, is Titan skating still a thing? The short answer is no. I did play as a Striker Titan and tried to skate the way you can in D1 using increased control. And I don't want to say flat out it did not work, but it's definitely not the same by a lot. It looks like Bungie deliberately tweaked both the Titan and Warlock jump to borderline remove both skating and surfing from the game. When I was trying to skate, I felt like I was moving a tiny bit faster than my teammates, but I was only inches ahead of them, and they were just running on foot. So yeah, it might be better off to just not skate at all in D2 because they have taken a lot of action to make sure that you are moving slowly in the air. Next question, which I got a couple different versions of, is how do the two primary spots work? Okay, let's rewind a little bit. So in Destiny 1, there are 3 weapon slots. There's a primary, special weapon, and heavy weapon. In D2, there are still 3 weapon positions, but 2 of them are for what we would now consider primaries. One for primaries that are only kinetic damage, aka they don't have an elemental burn, and yes, that means that you can have 2 hand cannons or 2 whatever primaries, as long as one is kinetic and one is elemental. The final weapon position is for your power weapon, which is kind of a combination of both special and heavy weapons. Shotguns, snipers, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, and fusion rifles are all together in that one slot. Now you may ask yourself, why the hell would I use a fusion rifle or even a shotgun if you can just use a rocket launcher? And that's a good question, but it looks like they're trying to balance power weapons mainly through the amount of ammo you get when you pick up the power ammo on the map. When I grabbed the power ammo and I had my shotgun, I got around 6 shots, I believe. And when I grabbed the power ammo when I had a rocket launcher, I only got 1 rocket. Now, it might be possible that some power weapons further into the lifespan of D2 will give you more rockets, maybe 2 or hell even 3, we have no idea at this point. But it definitely looks like the way they are trying to control power weapons is by changing the amount of ammo that you get for any gun. So shotguns, fusions, and snipers, you are definitely going to get more, and rocket launchers and grenade launchers, you're going to get a little bit less. This is a good segue into my next question, which is how does the power ammo work? In the PvP game type that we played at the D2 reveal, which was called Countdown, there were multiple rounds, and each round was about 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and the power ammo dropped in about 30 seconds in every single round in 2 specific locations on the map. I don't know if 30 seconds in will be the baseline protocol for every PvP game type in D2, but that's how it worked for Countdown. From what I can tell, you can't share ammo with teammates. Even if a teammate pulled that power ammo right when I was standing right there next to him, I did not get any of the ammo. It went all to the person who pulled it. You pretty much have to pull the ammo yourself when it comes in, and it goes only to you. You also don't get to hold on to it after you die. Bungie looks like they are really trying to regulate the number of kills players are going to get with weapons that aren't primary weapons in D2, so definitely expect a lot of primary weapon action when the new game drops. Next question, how do the weapons feel compared to D1? I'm going to try to answer without being too vague, but it's hard to say because we only got our hands on a limited weapon selection. We got an auto rifle, a pulse rifle, a scout rifle, maybe 2 hand cannons, couple SMGs, really basic stuff. But for the most part, right now, the weapons in D2 feel very good. Similar to how weapons feel in D1 by a lot, and my favorite primary I think that I used was probably the pulse rifle. And of course, all the power weapons felt pretty damn good. The auto rifle actually felt pretty good too as a primary. Again, I'm not saying that all auto rifles are going to feel amazing, but the one I used definitely did feel pretty good. It felt pretty reliable, pretty accurate. Again, the pulse rifle was pretty good. I think the weapons had pretty noticeable kick, but I don't know if that's going to be true across every weapon that we play in D2, or just the ones that we were able to use in the D2 reveal. For power weapons, the shotgun felt very, very consistent. I got a bunch of kills with the shotgun. The sniper felt very clean. It actually felt a lot kind of like a Halo 1 sort of sniper rifle, which was really good. The grenade launcher was great. You have to use maybe 3 or 2 grenades to get a kill. You can't get a one-hit direct kill with the grenade launcher. It is not as powerful as the rocket launcher. Rocket also felt good. That was a one-hit kill, but you have to actually shoot it around their feet. It didn't have grenades and horseshoes or nothing like that. And overall, yeah, weapons felt great the way they do feel in D1. I really have to applaud Destiny for making it feel like the guns are just still really smooth and good to use, and I can't wait to see what other guns we'll be able to get our hands on when the D2 beta drops this summer. Any information on tracking grenades? They are in the game, yeah. The Gunslinger had the scatter grenade, and the Dawnblade Warlock had the Firebolt grenade. They definitely did not feel really, really strong, though. They felt kind of average. Same thing as melees. While I didn't get a chance to actually test it, my good friend Mega claims that it took 3 melees to kill a full health Guardian rather than 2, which is the protocol in D1. So I wouldn't worry about tracking grenades too much, because again, not as strong as they are in D1. And speaking of grenades that aren't as strong as they are in D1, the Warlock had access to fusion grenades, and I didn't get a chance to experiment, but the reports now are that a direct fusion grenade stick, which is harder to land now, mind you, did not result in a one-hit kill in D2. Sort of a multi-part question here, but we'll get to all this stuff in a minute. Are there skill trees? Yes, there are, and they look very different from how they look now. In D1, we have columns where we can pick different options as we go down the column, but in D2, it looks like this, a nucleus with branch-out options. I will say that I am a little bit concerned, where in D1, there was a lot of variation that you could pick from in each column. In D2, I'm not entirely sure if there are things that can be turned off once you unlock them. Why would that be a problem? Well, for example, the Dawnblade Warlock that I played had a perk unlocked on their skill tree that was very similar to Angel of Light, meaning when I aimed my weapon in the air, I hovered in place. Now, I don't normally like having that perk on in Destiny 1, so I went to my skill tree and tried to turn it off, only to find out that I couldn't, or that I just didn't know how. I hope that was just a case of user error, because it wouldn't be good to have some perks that you can't ever turn off once unlocked if you eventually decide that you don't like them. Customizing your tree to fit your playstyle is very important, and it's one of the things that I really enjoy about D1, so more on that later when we get our hands on the D2 beta. Any word on armor, recovery, and agility? Yep, it is definitely there, but it was not on the skill tree the way it is in Destiny 1. It's actually on your character's wearable gear in the inventory. We didn't really have the ability to tinker around with changing our armor, but our stats were definitely there on the pieces of armor depending on what you were wearing. Obviously, they didn't really give me time at the event to set aside my own little thing and let me do a bunch of testing or whatever, or else I totally would have. But yeah, I think it's safe to assume right now that armor, recovery, and agility is going to work probably exactly the same in D2 as it did in D1, and we're probably going to have to be looking out for better pieces of gear and loot that you can pick up in D2, because the gear that you have is definitely going to directly affect your armor, recovery, and agility rather than just tweaking it on your skill tree. Are the previous subclasses being changed in any way? Well, let's get this out of the way. The only 2 subclasses that we got to play from D1 were the Gunslinger and the Striker. We didn't have their complete skill tree unlocked, but there are changes for sure. The Gunslinger Super is now, I think, 6 shots instead of 3, but the timer is way, way faster. It's really only just a few seconds. The old Super in D1 was way more forgiving if you popped it too early, because you could kind of roam the map looking for trouble. In D2, you really have to time it very well, otherwise you're going to be looking directly at a very wasted Super. At the very least, it does have a higher ceiling in D2, meaning that you can get more kills despite the low timer if the enemy team is all in perfect position nearby when you activate. The Gunslinger also has an evade move similar to Shade Step in D1, and I don't know if every hunter will have something like this, but right now the Gunslinger definitely does. The cooldown is pretty long. It's basically the exact same as a grenade or melee ability charge, so you won't be able to spam it as much as you can with the Night Stalker in D1. You also have options to customize it, either by getting more melee energy, I believe, if the enemy is nearby when you do it, or to have your gun reload when you do it. And between those two, and between you and me, I think the one where you get to reload your gun while you do it is an infinitely better choice, but we'll see when D2 comes out. It was definitely my favorite choice between the two when I was playing Hunter. And speaking of new abilities, the Striker has a new one where you can put up a brief shield to protect yourself and your teammates, kind of like this big wall that you can put up in front of you, and it also has a longish cooldown like a grenade or melee. Yes, enemies can shoot it and break it, but still, it's very, very cool, and it really helps when you're trying to lock down an area for either protecting your teammates or trying to secure an objective, anything like that. And as you may have heard, the Fist of Havoc is also now a roaming super in D2. Once you pound the ground, your super bar begins to slowly deplete rather than being gone altogether. And while that bar is going down, you have the ability to run around in your glowing blue, and you can basically pull off kind of a shoulder charge move and careen right into people and get more kills. But in terms of the subclasses changing from D1 to D2, the one thing I really am kind of bummed out about is the lack of changes in grenades. As far as I can tell, all of the Striker and Gunslinger grenade options are exactly the same as they were in D1. Not that that's a bad thing, but I was hoping for a little bit of a mix-up. Hopefully, there's new grenade options available throughout the other new subclasses in D2, and that'll be enough to keep things fresh in the grenade department. Definitely one of the most asked questions I got on Twitter was, is the game 60 FPS? And I'm sure that you probably know the answer to this already, and the answer is, well, no and yes. On console, it has been confirmed that the game is 30 FPS. I know that is a huge bummer to a lot of you. It is definitely a big bummer to me that the game is not 60 FPS on console. Kind of a letdown. But the good news for those of you who care is that Destiny 2 on PC is going to be uncapped, meaning that it can go to 60 FPS and damn, even higher, depending on how good your computer is. So if you want the game to be really, really as pretty as it can be, I highly recommend to get Destiny 2 on PC, because I did get a chance to play it on PC when I was there, and holy shitballs. It was absolutely smooth and beautiful, and the PCs that we played it on were pretty good, but again, uncapped frame rate. It could have been even higher than what I played it on when I was there, and it was just goddamned amazing. And finally, the other question that I got about a bajillion times was, is the game going to have dedicated servers? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no. But there's kind of an asterisk there when I say no. So on console, they confirmed that there will not be dedicated servers on console because the game, I think in an interview, they mentioned was kind of too powerful for the PS4 Pro to handle at 60 FPS. They did confirm in an interview, though, that I believe they are trying to make the Destiny 2 matchmaking focus way more on connection than it did in D1, which I do suppose is good news, but it's still not dedicated servers, which is kind of a bummer. More good news if you're on PC, though, because they did announce that they are partnering up with Blizzard, who I'm sure I don't need to tell you who those people are, and they will be running the Destiny 2 game on battle.net servers, which is kind of incredible. Basically, the connection there is going to be pretty strong because Blizzard does not F around when it comes to their servers, and cheating, if it does pop up, I'm really positive that battle.net will be all over that and will punish those cheaters right away. So there we go. Those are your most answered questions on Twitter for D2. And if there were any questions that you really have that are incredibly burning, I don't want to make this video too long, but please feel free to hit me up in the comment section with those questions. I will be glad to answer them and talk to you about my overall D2 experience. Thank you so very much for watching this video. There will be more D2 content in the weeks to come. I'm gonna make this channel fucking explode with D2 content. So if you're new here, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. It would help me out a lot. And for those of you who are already here who have already subscribed, well, I love you, as always, and please, if you haven't already, go give me a follow on Twitch, because we are going towards that Twitch partnership grind. Thanks for being here, thanks for watching, hope you learned something, see you next time.